Welcome back to MMRA Racing. We've caught up with the 2004 Pro Division Championship team. This is MHE2 Motorsports with driver Bill Christie and car owner Mark Hyjek. And Mark, it's an interesting and intriguing difference in our sport to have car owners involved. And so we wanted to talk to you a little bit about your experience as a car owner in the sport of MMRA racing. Obviously winning the championship is a great way to run a season.
Yeah, and I really have to thank Bill for doing everything he did this season for us. We ran the Super Truck Division up in Nashville the year before on a very limited budget. And we said there has to be a better way for Bill to get seat time and experience on tracks throughout the United States. I started out as a driver, or wanting to drive, met up with Bill and took more interest in being a car owner than the driver himself. So it's been thrilling.
And it's interesting because we see that so often in the upper echelons of racing. The driver turned crew chief, the driver turned car owner is well documented, certainly in NASCAR's divisions, but it's neat to see that in our level of racing, and it would appear, at least to me, that there would be a lot more opportunity for car owners in the sport of MMRA racing because, as you said, it's a much lower threshold of money there. It's a lot cheaper.
Absolutely, Pete. The interesting thing is, I will say that in the future you'll probably see more car owners in the sport because there's actually a need for that. People want to move up division through division, gain experience, gain knowledge on the tracks, but they don't want to have to buy the equipment to do it along the way. That just, tends to lead towards the car ownership realm. It's very fun, very exciting to bring a younger driver up through the ranks, win races, go through the trials and tribulations of it, completely through the season. It's just as exciting as it is driving.
And in that sense, it does represent an opportunity. Certainly we have young drivers coming up from our future stars to open, but the jump to the pro division, I think, is going to be a fairly significant one. For the first time, you're dealing with real horsepower, having to understand throttle control. And that scenario, if you had an experienced car owner behind you and that had been there and done that, it seemed that would really help a young driver to succeed earlier.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, track setup notes are, worth their weight in gold.
Right.
The other thing too is just the financial outlay of purchasing everything. Car owners will have multiple sets of wheels, shocks, gear sets, everything you need to run a series, and that stuff is costly.
Sure.
And does add up over the season. Thank God for sponsors.
Right. And Bill, how does the kind of division of labor play out when you come to one of our touring races, for example? I mean, you're obviously out on the track, you get a feel for what the car is doing, but are you turning wrenches on the car also when you come in?
Sure, typically we're turning wrenches all day long. If we're not fixing something, we're just doing routine maintenance just to try to prevent something from breaking during the race.
And then, Mark, what are you doing around the pits during the event?
Unfortunately, I'm the one underneath the car most of the time. Now, Dwight Laxton, our crew chief, helps us on setup immensely and fine-tuning at the track. Usually during the week, Bill will come over, sit in the car, we'll scale it out. We'll set it up from previous notes, previous temperatures to where we think the car is going to be at. And then, except for like Anderson, where we have something major break, it's just fine-tuning at the track from there on.
Now, I remember I had seen Dwight, I believe, at Anderson and at Lake Erie. And, of course, Dwight worked on Carl Edwards' car when Carl won the championship and has moved on to greater things. So am I seeing a confluence there when Dwight Laxton shows up, the cars he's wrenching on run up front?
Dwight,
we hope so.
Yeah, Dwight definitely knows what he's doing as far as the Baby Grand's concerned, and he's been in Baby Grand racing for as long as I've been driving them, I know, and probably longer. And just like we were saying, the longer you're in the series, the more knowledgeable you are, and when you've got someone wrenching on your car that knows what they're doing, it makes a huge difference. And Dwight and I we developed a great relationship with each other, and we could basically go to the track with a baseline setup, and within one or two times on the track, just him and I communicating back and forth, and we're ready to race.
Pete, don't forget, a lot of these young kids moving up into the sport, they may start out in mini cups and their fathers get to learn the mini cup. Well, it takes years to get this kind of knowledge under your belt. That's why a car owner in the pro division is probably going to help out the sport greatly. These kids are going to move up from mini cups. Look at all these adjustments on the car. Their dads are going to start scratching their head, and sometimes the dads don't even turn the wrench.
Well, and that is definitely a factor. I mean, there's a lot of adjustability built into these baby grand cars, and if you don't know which way to turn those wrenches, you could have the next Jeff Gordon, and no one's going to know it.
Sure.
Exactly.
And you can also, as a driver, being young and learning, you can cut your time that it takes you to learn and become a better driver in half at least, just by working with someone that has the knowledge already, that has the notebook full of track setups and the past experiences with more experienced drivers that can relate different situations to the younger drivers. It really helps.
And don't forget, Bill, all the time that we've spent just fine-tuning the weight distribution on
Right.
the car. I mean, the car setup is, a great percentage of the drivability of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So if the car's not right, nobody's going to look good in it.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Exactly. Very tough to drive a car that doesn't handle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting to see that there's more and more car owners getting involved in the sport of MMRA racing. And Mark, it's been a very successful year for you and Bill. We wish you all continued success. And MMRA hopes to see more car owners in our sport. We believe it's going to be great for our young drivers coming up and help build the sport we love, MMRA racing.